Hi everyone, welcome to the final paper assignment screencast. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a few minutes to walk you through the assignment sheet for your final paper for our class. I mentioned this all through our week 5 screencasts, but I want to make sure I go over this in detail with you, okay? So your final paper for our class is going to be an autoethnographic exploration of your intrapersonal communication. This sounds like a very fancy term for what it is, but I just want to make sure that what it is clear. So I have posted I posted this in the week 5 screencasts, so you can see it just after you've done the material. I've also posted the assignment sheet and this screencast in the Getting Started section. So in the event that week 5 is closed, you can still access this screencast and the assignment sheet as long as you need it. Okay, so let me pull up the assignment sheet so that I can talk about it. Okay, so your final paper assignment sheet, here it is. Again, this is posted here in week 5 and in the Getting Started section. Let's just get started at the top here, okay? I'm going to read this and we're going to talk about it. Your final project in this class, you're carrying out an autoethnographic exploration of your intrapersonal communication. This will result in a 5 to 10 page final paper. Now, 5 to 10 pages I'm open to it being a little bit longer than that if you need to go longer. I do expect 5 pages minimum though. So in fact, if you have a hard time getting to the 5 pages, talk to me, okay? It ought to be relatively easy with everything we've been doing this semester to get to the 5-page minimum. That's 1,500 to 3,000 words, okay, in case you're curious. Where you write about your intrapersonal communication in an autoethnographic, creative, evocative, and scholarly manner. That should go in line with everything that was said in the week 5 screencast. If it doesn't make sense, take a look at the screencast, and if it still doesn't make sense, please let me know. I want to make sure that I'm being clear about the method I'm asking you to use. It's worth 200 points. It's worth a lot of points. It's the biggest single project in this class, and so I want to make sure it's on your radar now, halfway through the semester, and I want to make sure that you get started sort of paying attention to it, taking notes on your self-talk, and like I mentioned in the screencasts for this week, okay? 200 points. It's due Sunday, May the 7th by 11:30 p.m. That will technically be the last thing we do in this class, okay? So we're working on that over the next, what's left of March, April, and into May, okay? So I'm assigning this well in advance of when it's due. Late papers, just an FYI, late papers will be assessed at 1 letter grade per hour it's late. This is the final paper of the semester, and I don't have a whole lot of time to assess them, and so they need to be turned in when they're turned in, okay? So make sure you turn it in on time. Those are points that you don't want to have to lose. The look, feel, and flow of this paper is left up to you. We are going to look at different forms and types of autoethnography in week 6. So you'll see what these can look like. But the look is left up to you, okay? Here are the basic components you must include, though. 1, story. There's got to be story. There's got to be plot. There's got to be character and setting to what you're doing. Now, this is a paper on your intrapersonal communication, exploring it. So you're writing about yourself here. This is not you writing about something that's completely outside of you. So find some way to write it in the form of story. And I've gone over the different types, and we'll see examples as well. Scholarly and academic resources. You must use citations. You can reference our lectures. You can reference our PowerPoints. You can reference Mindset that we've been reading all semester. Discussions. You can reference outside research. Okay. In fact, I'm asking you to. So more specifically, your paper should include a minimum of 5 sources. It's 5 credible, good sources. Now, you could cite our PowerPoints. You could cite our lectures. You could cite the book Mindset. You could cite stuff like that. So even if you just do those, you're easily going to get your 3 in course. I do want you to look for 2 outside sources, okay? And so for the 2 outside sources, it doesn't necessarily have to be on intrapersonal communication. It can. It could be on self-concept. It could be on self-esteem, whatever you're writing about. It could be on imagined interactions, whatever it is you're writing about. I just want you to include 2 credible, relevant, outside sources, okay? And then the paper must have scholarly and or academic analysis. Don't just tell your story or explore your epiphanies, okay? Offer analysis of them using the language, perspective, and resources of our course. If you just tell your story and you don't ever use any of the language we've been working on this semester, your grade on the paper will not be very good, okay? Go back through the PowerPoints, go back through the screencasts, go back through your discussion boards, go back through your journal entries, and utilize those to help you write this paper, okay? You will be writing stories, weaving scholarly sources and analysis throughout the story, okay? So what I do here is I give you some ideas just to consider, okay? Consider the epiphanies mentioned in week 5. You probably just listened to that, but this is also here for you to reference in week 9 whenever you're working on this. So remember, we talked about epiphanies, the different kinds, existential crises, events after which life does not feel the same. Feel free to write about those. You could write an autoethnography exploring your journey over the course of this class. Maybe this class has led you to some epiphanies. Funnily enough, teaching this course has led me to some epiphanies in my own imagined interactions and my own self-talk. It's been really good for me. So thank you for signing up for this class and having it make. It's been good for me to have some stuff get better for me teaching this. You could explore your intrapersonal communication around one particularly impactful life experience, just like we said up here, or epiphany. Maybe you had some in this class, like I say. You could integrate imagined interactions into your writing. You could write a script around one particularly important imagined interaction, or you could just write about it and then reflect on it. You could break it up into whatever ways you see necessary. I want to give you the freedom to be creative here in the way you tell your story, and the type of story that you tell, and in the way that you weave in that scholarly analysis, okay? You could examine the impacts that reading the book, Mindset, that should be capitalized, I apologize, and engaging in our course, had on your self-talk. So lots of options here. You could back over your journal entries. I won't read this word for word, but you could use some of the journal entries that you've done in this course or a discussion board post in this course to serve as a springboard for this paper. I know that especially in week 3, I had you reflect on your self-talk. Maybe you need to autoethnographically explore your self-talk a little more in depth based on that. And so use that as a springboard. I don't want you to just copy and paste it in. I would like you to use it as a springboard, but feel free to look back at the work you've done. You've done a lot of writing over the course of this class. Believe me, I'm grading it. It's a lot. I don't know what crazy professor assigned it, but anyways, it's a lot. So look back over that and use it to your advantage for ideas, for springboarding. Maybe pieces of it need to go in. I don't want you to just cut and paste 3 journal entries together and call it an autoethnography. That's not what it is. It must be well written, evocative, and scholarly, and so make sure that you do that if you choose to use those. I always like to say this when I'm assigning an autoethnographic assignment. It's likely you won't completely know what you're going to write about until you start writing. Some of you might. Some of you might know, oh my gosh, I am talking about this one thing or these 2 things or these 3 things, and that's what I'm going to do. But if you're not sure and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not sure what to write about, how do I figure that out? Start writing. Just sit down, and even if your first sentence is, I have no idea what I'm going to write about. I guess I could talk about my self-talk, or I guess I could talk about this thing that happened to me a few weeks ago. And then just sort of let that emerge. Sometimes that's the best way to do it. And there's something in you that actually wants out, and you don't know that until you start opening the pipe for it to come out. So my advice is to start, okay? So overall, this paper is graded on, I'm going to hide myself so you can see this. Is it well written? Is the writing evocative? Did you proofread it? So please make sure that you're taking the time to write it well. Please make sure that you're doing your best to make it as evocative and involving for the reader as possible. Make sure that you proofread it, okay? Is it in clear conversation with the course material? Please don't forget to reference some concepts that we've done in here. You got to have 5 sources, and if you don't have the 5 sources, your grade's really going to suffer. So make sure you have those. Make sure you're mentioning terms from the course. Don't just say, I talk to myself a lot. Reference self-talk. Reference sense and perception, and reference everything we've been discussing. Okay. I'm looking for the minimum number of sources. Okay. You can go over 5 if you want to. Does it present all the elements of autoethnography? Okay. It's not just autobiography or personal or confessional writing. It's got to have the components of autoethnography, and that's in the screencast. It's up at the top of this page in dealing with being evocative, scholarly, creative, stuff like that. And then does it display a mastery of the course material in the analysis of intrapersonal communication? Make sure that what you're doing is accurate. Don't call, a retroactive imagined interaction proactive. Don't call, sensory. Don't get sense and perception mixed up, like we talked about in week 2. I mean, there's so much we've talked about. So make sure that you're showing mastery of the course material. Make sure you're analyzing your personal experience through the writing of this paper. So this is your final product. Okay. If you have any questions, please ask them in the discussion board for questions for the course. Send me an email. I know my email is insane right now, but send me an email if you need to. Pop it on the discussion boards. Do whatever you need to do, okay? I look forward to engaging your autoethnographies. They always end up really cool and really creative, and I really do. I look forward to reading them. Have a great journey examining your intrapersonal communication.